And let's welcome Paul, who is in sustainable packaging, and let's learn from him how he's doing it different.
Thank you. Thank you, Shirley. Thank you, Kelvin, and the team at COFEX. It's great to be here. It's great to be here at the Coffee Planet and Us 2025 conference. Some of the more observant amongst you may notice that I'm not Asian. I'm European, and it's a true privilege to be asked to come here as a European and to talk to Asian people about what we in Europe have done over the past 15 years to help forge a way in sustainable packaging. Europe may be slightly ahead of Asia in sustainable packaging, but Asia is a truly innovative and amazing place for forging forward with technologies, taking technology and maximizing it. And I believe Malaysia in particular, is a very bright and prosperous place to be, and I'm absolutely privileged to be here with you guys. So this is the company that I work for, Parkside, and we, like all of you, and as has been said before by our previous speakers, we all value a good environment. Everyone enjoys breathing clean air, drinking fresh water. We all need this. And it's widely acknowledged by some of the world's leading experts, environmental scientists, that we are, or indeed at, and perhaps past that tipping point of a climate crisis. Now, this sounds a wee bit bleak. Okay, so for those of us who are concerned about the planet, we don't really need to worry too much about the planet, the big ball that we live on, too much, because it has survived many crises in the past. It has survived and it will survive. However, for those of us who are worried about humanity, we need to turn on. We need to tune into this message. We really need to think about this as we move forward. I'm privileged today to have my wife and my son with me, and as you can tell, I get very passionate about how we as a society will treat our planet. We've got to look after you, we've looked after the future generations. This is only lent to us. We're only borrowing this. We really are. So my topic today is packaging innovation. And in the light of how packaging is portrayed by society, and especially plastic packaging, and for a plastic packaging person, I think it's brave for Kelvin to invite me here. So, yeah, some of you have opinions, and I'm sure they're pretty strong opinions. So I'm here to set the scene, okay? So why do we need packaging? These are relevant questions. How do we manage? How do we sustain a food supply chain? And why is it such a talking point in the media? Now more than ever, packaging is hitting the headlines for all over the world for all the wrong reasons, for polluting our rivers and our seas and our oceans. And that's wrong. It shouldn't be such a way. And I know that later we'll have speakers who will talk to us more about that. What can we do about the environmental impact of packaging? And how can we make sustainable choices? So this is a little bit about the company that we have here. If I talk just a little bit about this is not a sales pitch, by the way, believe me, it's not. We manufacture globally. We have a site in Malaysia here, just a couple of blocks away from this university. And we are headquartered in Normanton in Leeds. We're insight-led, we drive technology and packaging. Whilst it is true, we do a lot of packaging which performs and is market-led, but from 2012, we've pioneered compostable and environmentally sustainable solutions when they weren't popular, when they weren't in demand, when it wasn't in the news, long before the market started to take attention. And we developed this and continue to develop it through 2020, 23, 24, through release and launch of different ranges of product through papers and plastics. So I have a vested interest in this. And it must be clear that climate change solutions are not easy. They're complex, messy, uncomfortable, and possibly very expensive. Okay? But there is a solution to almost every problem that we have. And it's up to us to embrace these solutions if we want to. We choose. Notice the little armband we have, the bracelet. Change begins with choice, and we can choose to change. It's up to us, okay? And I'm very much a fan of the saying that if we point the finger, 3 come back at us. Okay, so think what we can do for society. And I'm very proud of the people that have turned up here today because you are the change, okay? We have choices to make, and my role here today is to educate, to help inform, to provoke debate within the group, and elicit critical thought from you. So please put your questions to us, the team. Okay? We at Parkside have spent nearly 15 years in research and development in environmental packaging. And for us, as I say, that's an investment in the future, long before it was popular. We're certified with a lot of different bodies around the world, and this is not a small achievement. We're very proud of it as a company. And for us to understand here today what the role packaging plays on our planet, we should first understand what packaging is and why it matters. So think, the next time you're at a supermarket, take time to look at the shelves and look at the products that are on the shelves, and you'll see lots of different materials. You'll see plastics, you'll see metals, you'll see papers, boxes, cans, aerosols, tubes, the lot. In a typical UK supermarket, there are over 6,000 products for a consumer to choose from in that supermarket. And as a marketeer, you'll understand that the average shopper has probably less than 0.3 of a second to make a choice of your product or someone else's. So in a competitive retail market, it's an exceptionally difficult place. Okay, so cost is a big thing, and performance is a big thing. And over here in Asia, I can only assume and imagine the amount of SKUs that there are on a shelf because of the broad variety of products and the different cultures that we have to cater for. It's quite amazing for a European to be in an Asian supermarket, believe me, trying to find what I want to buy. So why does packaging matter? Packaging, the primary form of packaging and the primary reason why it exists is to protect, to bring a product from my place to your place and on to its final destination. So we preserve quality, safety, and shelf life. So packaging is for a broad range of products, from industrial products to a pack of chewing gum, everything in between. It's a mad spectrum. In years gone by, the earliest forms of packaging were what we could find around. It was ropes, it was clothing, it was textiles, it was all sorts of things used to pack stuff up and make sure it got to market sustainably. But as time passes, packaging also fulfills a marketing role. And as the world has evolved, I mean, we have grown exponentially. I've seen some of the graphs here today about how exponentially our carbon output has increased. So too has our population increased. And packaging has to take its responsibility with getting the food that we need to feed that population to the marketplace. Okay, so as time passes, packaging also fulfills a marketing role. Now, that's basically your soap powders and consumable products. A soap powder doesn't sell itself. It's the bright colours and the marketing messages that sell those products. And whenever larger organisations get involved in that packaging process, then cost has a huge impact on that. And it's not necessarily always for good choices for the planet. Packaging educates, so let's not forget that packaging educates the user. Especially medical packaging, where it educates us as to what the product's going to do to us. Is it going to cure us or is it going to kill us? What are the side effects, etc.? How much do we take? And it's important. It helps us to dispense and keep fresh. Just think about this morning whenever you put the toothpaste on your toothbrush and all the rest, that's packaging. And it helps. Where would we be without it? So if we didn't have it, it would be a little bit smellier here perhaps. We intuitively look at the side of the pack, for instructions. Even when I'm cooking noodles, I look to the side of the pack. It's 3 minutes. It's always 3 minutes. Or maybe it's 4 with this brand. Today there are a range of sophisticated materials to help package, and cost is a huge factor in this, and we can't look past this. So whatever the use case, there are materials to suit all applications. And packaging manufacturers such as me have had to introduce exceptionally complex materials to help get product to the marketplace effectively and fresh, especially here in Asia, where we have exceptionally high humidity and heat. So whenever I arrived here from Europe, I was quite shocked at the high barrier properties of packaging, and why is all this plastic? And for someone who manufactures plastic, that's quite an unusual thing to say. But it is necessary because we have to feed the population, and we have to feed the poorest among us and the richest amongst us. Okay, it's a sustainable planet. If we focus our attention on food, we'll see that in the food and beverage markets, plastics play a significant role. So look once again at the supermarket shelf. It's predominantly plastic. And it's due to the low cost of manufacture and the readily available materials. Plastics are lightweight and durable, giving enhanced benefits to products and producers of a wide range of products. Packaging can be a combination of foils, papers, plastics and other materials to enhance marketing appeal. And in markets such as Asia, as I say, it's quite important. Food waste is what we try to eliminate through the fresh packaging of products. So whenever it is arrived at the supermarket, we try to make sure that it's in its best condition, as best as if you imagine a bakery product leaving the ovens. It has to cool a little, it has to then settle, and then it moves on into its packaging and into the supermarket. And that has to retain its freshness as best as possible, because whenever it gets to you, you want it to last as long as possible. 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. And the longer we can get out of that, the better we can use the product. So for example, someone like myself who uses as much of the product as we can, I hate whenever you have to throw the last bit of bread out. It annoys me. And if the packaging was a little bit better, maybe we would be able to use it all. And it's important because, as Kelvin has said, food waste here on the planet accounts for over 40% of everything we throw in the bin. Everything. So 40% of everything that goes in a trash can is food waste. Okay? Over 1/3 of all food produced globally is wasted. That's a sobering figure. And for us in Malaysia, what does that mean? That means, according to a website I looked at recently, we in Malaysia produce 38,000 tons of waste every year. Okay? That equates to 15,000 tons of food waste, purely and simply food, which equates to 1.15 kilos of waste per person in Malaysia, which is 25% higher than the global average. Okay, so how do we do that? Why do we do that? Okay. And another very sobering thought about that is that every 18 days we produce enough food waste in Malaysia to fill the Petronas Towers. So think of the Petronas Towers, we've all seen it, and we fill that every 18 days with food waste. Absolutely amazing, mind-blowing. One of my favorite buildings, by the way. We're captivated by it. So as you can see, the need to reduce food waste is exceptionally important. And traditional packaging methods of multiply, high barrier packaging, we need to rethink that. We really do. It's important. Because there are very few ways of dealing with that waste. It's either, as Kelvin says, it's in the waste, it's into the landfill, or it's incineration. And both of these methods have their pitfalls. So we look at single-use plastics. So this is the real bad boy of what's going on with plastics at the moment. Okay, so let's address this. Single-use plastics are hitting the headlines when they're improperly disposed of, and that's the key point here. When they're improperly disposed of, we consider that plastics find their way to drains and rivers and watercourses and oceans and seas, and it's a massive problem for us now and in the future. Huge problem for us. And it also becomes a reality for marine life when it breaks down into microplastics and becomes part of the aquatic life and finds its way into our food chain. And that's not what we want at all. It would be remiss of me not to mention that there are many complex issues arising from modern living, such as seepage and other chemicals, but that's not for me today. I'm here to address plastics and our part in how we play a role in the environment. There's one simple solution, and maybe you may forgive me for being very simplistic about it, but I'm Irish, so we tend to think of things very simplistically. It's a simple solution. Don't throw your waste in the river. Don't throw it in the sea. Don't throw it in the ocean. And you may say, I've never done that. But whenever you dispose of your rubbish improperly, that's where it has the potential to land and end up. Throw that packet out through the window, and it's going to float into a drain. It's going to go into a drain, into a river, and into the sea. And that's it. And that's on us, okay, as a population. That's on us. So simple. Don't throw it in the sea. There's no plastics manufacturer in this world has ever advocated that, and we don't do it. So the reality for us is very different, though. It's a very complex problem. How do we deal with all of these various forms of plastic packaging? It's PP, it's PE, it's this. Is it recyclable? Isn't it recyclable? What is it? How do we do that? And we need to take accountability as a plastics organisation about how we badge and label our plastics. And certainly we at Parkside have many certifications that we put on our plastics to allow our consumers to understand and realise how to deal with them properly. And to be fair, some of the criticism levelled at the plastic industry is fair. Maybe we haven't done enough, but we have to realise as an industry that we've got to do better. And we are trying to do better, and certainly at Parkside, we're developing products that help us do better. A lot of this comes down to what the market will bear as a cost. So it's a partnership. We have to be in partnership. Just as a side note, and I'm sure one of our speakers may talk a little bit more about this later, but I'm fascinated by the Great Garbage Patch, the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, and it apparently takes up an area the size of Germany, France, and Spain. So that's pretty big. But over 46% of this garbage patch is made up out of ghost nets from the marine industry. Okay, it's not all consumer waste. Under 20% of it is consumer waste, and most of this plastic is recyclable. And I'm so excited to see some of the furniture outside made from some of this. But do you know what? It didn't need to be there in the first place. Root cause analysis will tell us, don't throw it in the river, okay? Now, forgive me whilst I get to the right place here. Okay. So, multi-layer plastics, as we talk about, what is a multi-layer plastic? Okay, so it's whenever you look at a chip bag or something of that nature and has a little silver lining in it. It has one layer of plastic bonded to another. And these can be multi-layers. They can be duplex, 2 layers, triplex with 3 layers, and beyond. And these in themselves, they serve a purpose, but whenever they are different materials, they cannot be recycled. Okay? And we see that in lots of different packaging in supermarkets. And one of the problems that we have is that whenever you look at some of these multiple layer packets, you see the paper on the outside and you think, oh, that's bound to be recyclable, that's going to be good for the planet, that'll degrade and that'll be okay. But sometimes in a lot of these cartons, the inside of them have a foil liner and a plastic liner within that. And that means the pack is completely unrecyclable by any means that we know of, okay? So just be aware. Even though, and for example, if you buy some of the specialty milks, the nut milks, oat milk, almond milk, etc., a lot of them come in these packages. but they are an exceptionally efficient way of transporting a liquid to market. Okay, so think of that. It's perhaps better it's done that way than maybe in a bottle, or where it transports by nature a lot of air as well. So once again, weigh these things up yourselves. Think about it. I'm asking you to think about things today. Okay. Now, where the components of a multi-layer plastic are made up out of the one material, such as PE or PP, then it's totally recyclable. It can go into an industrial recycling system. And my urge is for the industry and for food producers to think about this, because if we develop enough volume, then it becomes commercially viable for someone to recycle it. And we need that recycling infrastructure here better than what it is today in Malaysia. Okay. So there's one exception to this rule of multi-layer plastics. In medical packaging, there is on the little blister packs that you get, that you dispense your tablets from, the aluminium foil. There's a lot of work going on to try and separate the aluminium foil from the plastic, but it's still in its infancy. And it is something which gives me great hope that with the amount of microplastics and plastics that there are in the world, that we can start to develop this separating one plastic from another. But yet it's not commercially viable at the moment. One of the other barriers to recycling is contamination in waste streams. So this may sound simple, but it's a fact. So for example, glass is an exceptionally recyclable product, but yet it is exceptionally fragile whenever we contaminate that waste. Okay, so stones and ceramics, etc., in a glass mix of recycled glass will render the whole batch unusable. So think of a glass bottle which has an imperfection in it, of say, for example, a piece of ceramic. It'll shatter, and it's not safe to use. And just as an aside, when I was here yesterday with the team, I took a chance look at the bins here, at the recycling bins, and there's not one of them had the right materials in them. So think about that. When you throw your waste away, throw your aluminium can into the aluminium part, throw your glass into the glass part, and paper into the paper part. Okay, it's a simple thing. Takes no talent, TNT. It's something we can all do. And in a university, I would expect there to be some smart people here. Okay, so let's please. I need to hold you accountable. We need to hold each other accountable. Okay, we have to be smarter. I have my 14-year-old child here, and believe me, he would know that I can be very cross whenever we put the wrong things in the wrong bins. So he's been educated, and he's good. Our perceptions are largely focused on plastics through consumer perception and misconception. A large amount of plastics are recyclable, and it's for us to push our favorite brand manufacturers and companies that we buy from into sustainable packaging. That's for us to do. It's for us to be able to use our voice, okay? And all I can ask is that I challenge your opinions and make your own decisions about what you buy. Look for the little logos, the recyclable logos. It should tell you on the pack, okay? And make sure whatever you do, please, if you think of nothing else from what I've said today, dispose of it responsibly, please, okay? So, I'm beginning to hurry up. My team always criticize me for talking too much, so sorry about this, guys. So we've got to balance. We've got to balance function and sustainability. Okay, we've got to feed the people, and we've got to care for the planet. It's difficult. It's not easy. Okay, so for us to get into this positive frame of mind, there are solutions. As I said at the very start, there's a solution for everything. We're smart people. We put people on the moon, apparently, and we can do lots of things. We're in a university. I've seen some absolutely stunning solutions to problems that we have with the little machines and whatnot we have outside. People are inventing things and making stuff. It's brilliant. Look at the display there is outside here. Currently, packaging, or paper packaging, is the most popular method of packaging in the world, with over 270 million tons of it a year. And it is an exceptionally sustainable way to pack materials. We are in processes with converting a lot of our users across from single-use plastics to paper, which has been coated with different barrier properties to help move away from plastics, from a 100% unrecyclable product to a 100% recyclable product. And once again, the customers that we're working with are doing that because of market pressures. So you are the market, you are the voice, you're making the change yourselves. So not all heroes wear a cape, I think was said earlier. So you've got to take credit for that. Plastics are the next largest material. A large amount of these plastics can be recycled if we dispose of them properly, and we also need to engage with the wider community to ensure that they are. Glass and metals make up the next part, and this one here, the compostable. This is a passion project for our company. As I said earlier, from 2012 we've been doing this since before the market thought it was appropriate, and we've been rather keen to develop this because it's a very difficult thing to do across the range of products that we have. And if you have an interest in it, please reach out to me or my staff who are at the booth and talk about it. Once again, let's talk, okay? Biodegradable can be biodegraded at home or industrially, okay? And we've got to look at this, what our part actively, the action that we take is in these things, okay? So if we take biodegradable, do we biodegrade or compost our own food waste? How do we do that in a modern society, in apartment blocks and condominiums and all sorts of busy lives and whatnot? So we've got to think about that, and there are intelligent solutions out there for that, okay? So we've also got to think about the circular environment. With the existing plastics we have, we reduce the weight of plastics, so therefore we lower the carbon footprint from the whole entire food chain by creating stronger substrates and stronger materials. We move from plastics to papers, and we create smart packaging shelf life. You see that on this pack here, where we have pre-packed meats, the ink will be the determining factor as to whether this product is beyond use, okay? It's not a date stamp. It's not 3 days from now. It's whenever the ink changes color, and there's a clear key on the pack. So that can extend shelf life 1, 2, 3 days, okay? And it also helps you in your refrigerator to know that that product is going to be good, okay? So those are things that we're doing actively. One of the things about also flexible packaging as well, we help flexible packaging helps with refillable solutions as well. So you maybe get a rigid container to purchase, say, for example, washing liquid in a rigid container first, and then you buy a lightweight refillable container thereafter to top up. And that's an important part of the solution as well. So at Parkside we have our 7 pillars of sustainability. So we build upon the reduce, reuse, recycle, and we break things down into smaller steps. And I think we've had similar before, and look, it's great to see we're all on the same page as this, Kelvin. So we reduce, remove, recycle. We encourage renewable and waste reduction, reuse, and lower our carbon footprint. And for us, that's a big thing because, as we saw earlier in the graphs, that carbon footprint is getting way out of control. Way out of control. And once again, we have to point the finger to ourselves as to how we do that, by reducing, by local, by products that have been produced locally and sustainably. These are important things for us, okay? So it's all about responsibility for me, okay? Are we okay for time? Good. Sustainable material options, as we've talked about, there are lots of them. And at the risk of repeating myself, monopolymers, if you've got a question, put it into the group. We'll answer as best we can. We're not here to hide, we're here to help, okay? Multi-purpose compostable materials and paper, okay? Those really are the best solutions that we have as society, and we would encourage you to look out for them. And encourage you to encourage others as well. Please do. These are some conversation points for us over coffee. Coffee is a great place to have conversation. So let's talk about these things. How do we make innovation? Sorry, I think I've skipped a slide. To be honest with you, but yeah. Here we go. How do we look at the cost pressures that there are in the marketplace? Are we prepared to pay the cost? Are we prepared to bear the cost, or are we going to say that's just for the other people? Okay, we've got to take accountability for that too. What are the infrastructure gaps? Can you buy these sustainable products locally? Can they be got, and are they fit for purpose? So these are things you've got to ask. Regulatory confusion. What are all those little symbols on the back of the pack? What do they mean? Can we make this simpler? Yes, we can. And consumer misunderstanding. What exactly is it about the products that we're buying that just is doing so much harm? How can we get from that really high carbon footprint down to a lower carbon footprint? How can we get from having 25% waste or 25% more waste in Malaysia down to a more reasonable level? We've got to do that. We've got to take up accountability for this. We've got solutions for it, and we can collaborate by doing this. And once again, hats off to the guys here at COFEX. We're collaborating across a market, and it's fantastic to see. We've got to invest in innovation. We've got to adopt different lifestyles. One of the things that we often think of is in terms of change. When we're asked to change, it's that changes for other people. It's rarely good for us, because if it was a good idea, we'd be doing it anyway. Change comes in two ways. One, it comes as a critical moment. Sudden change, such as a heart attack, will provoke a change in lifestyle or something of that nature. Change happens perhaps whenever you see legislation of banning carrier bags, and we all remember what a hassle that was whenever they banned carrier bags, and now we all take it in our stride. We all bring our recyclable and our reusable bags with us in the car, and we all forget to leave them in the car, and we all come out of shops struggling with the waste, with the shopping, but we don't buy another bag if it's not one of the sustainable ones. Another method of proven change is gradual change. Changes that take place over time and little small steps, and which is why I really appreciated seeing the 7 steps that Calvin had there, and that we do as well. Small things, they lodge with us. So things like remembering to take your coffee cup with you, and I love these wee ones around your neck that you wear them. You can't help but bring them with you. Bring your water bottle rather than using another PET bottle. Whilst the PET bottle can still be recycled, it's still better if we don't have to consume more waste. So however we reach these conclusions ourselves, we've got to get there, and we've got to encourage others. And I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to listen. And do take this away with us, this one small act that we do every day and encourage others to do as well will help influence others. And I appreciate you all for that. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. So I just wanted to remind everyone that there is a QR code, and I apologize that it was so fast that you didn't even get to screenshot it or scan it. So is this long enough? Do you have questions? If you do, please scan the QR code, and we will be able to read your questions. Everybody got it? Yes? No questions? Bless you. Are you all ready? What did you learn from Paul? Nothing? Plastic is bad. I think there's something that is important and useful, again, that adds value. If it's not already clear for you at this time, we're starting a community of support, which is sustainable packaging, all the way to the farmer, to the roaster, to the coffee supplier, to the barista, to the cafes, all the way, and then to you. But the ultimate power lies in your hand, because you decide. You get to decide who to buy, what to buy, how do you want to consume it. So that if the more purchasing power you direct to plastic, to other things that are laced with toxin and chemicals, then that's where the demand pushes the supply. So that's what you're telling the world. So if your demand is pushing towards sustainable products, sustainable practices, then that's where the supply will go. Remember, the ultimate power is in your hand, the consumer. The producer will have to chase you, but you actually set the direction. So the next speaker is Jacqueline. So you've heard from COFEX, Mono, and Felipe from FAF, and Parkside, Paul. Each of them have different companies in different industries, and they had to innovate, and they had to change. Some had to pivot and create a totally new company to serve the sustainable issues and challenges.